Recording. All right, it's all you, Marissa.
Cool. Hi, I'm Marissa. I'm a photographer. I haven't given like an artist talk in a while, so kind of nervous, but yeah, I'm a photographer. I'm located in New York. And I started off making art, and now I am kind of putting my art into client work. So that's a little bit about me. And I would like if you guys have any questions like throughout my presentation. It's not really very formal, so like please interrupt me with questions. I would like actually love that more than just talking straight through. So yeah.
I'm just gonna stare at you and not have any emotion on my face.
No.
Um,
No, thank you.
Christina, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. Uh, I'm Christina. I'm from Washington. Oh, our relationship to photography. So my dad got really into photography like maybe like 10 years ago. And I never really got it until I went to college, and then a few of my friends were taking a photography class, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. So I was like, I might as well learn more about it.
Sick. Natasha?
I'm Natasha. I'm from Washington as well, and uh, I want to major in art studio, and that's why I'm going to Western. And my relationship with photography is I've been doing it like my whole life, and I've just like recently gotten very serious about it, and yeah, that's why I'm at school for it. So.
Richard, if you don't. Oh, okay, maybe we'll come back to Richard. Okay, yeah. Richard's at work. Let's see if this is going to be a short phone call. This is hilarious. Oh no, we're out. Oh, we got disconnected from Richard. All right, we'll just turn it over and we can come back to Richard later on. But yeah, Marissa, I could turn it over to you. What's the best way? Do you want to share your screen or?
Yeah, I can share my screen and do like a light walkthrough through my website. I was thinking of just kind of sharing some random projects that I've done, and then showing some more recent work that I started. But yeah, I'll share my screen. Um, okay. Do you guys see this?
Yeah,
Awesome.
looks good.
Okay. Do you see the full thing, or oh, it's to my email?
Now we see your email.
Amazing. I love the
All
starts
your
of Zooms.
all your dirty secrets.
Yeah.
Now we see like your frequently visited websites.
Amazing. All right, how's that?
It's for me. It's just a search bar.
Really?
Yeah.
Let me stop and then start again.
Oh, sure, sure.
Um, can you see
Yes.
that?
Website,
Okay,
and it's a
awesome.
full screen website. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I think I'm gonna start with some of the work I made in college, because I think it's just a good place to start with my art practice. So while I was in college, I got the chance to visit Germany, and this project is pretty intense, and my work is like not so intense these days. But I had the chance to visit Germany, and that's where my grandmother escaped the Holocaust from. And so I was just making really conceptual work at the time. And I visited and I got to visit some of the places that my relatives like fled from and lived and died. And I made work in those locations, trying to kind of find like a tangible place that I could kind of connect the stories that she was telling me to, because it felt really far off. Like my grandma would tell me, um, things about her childhood, and I just like couldn't really connect. So I went to these places, and it was sort of a journey, a meditative journey for me. And I ended up finding like nothing basically. So it was like really hard to connect to these locations. They were really random. Some of them had become like bars or like McDonald's or like fields, which was interesting to me, but I wanted to kind of show that feeling of like intangibility. So I created these abstract Polaroids there. So this was like on the train to the town she was from. This was the hospital she was born at. Um, this was like the last place that my great grandparents lived. Um, and then this is a photo of me and my grandma. So that kind of led me to my next body of work where I tried to find something like a more tangible connection than what I was feeling, which was like nothing. And I felt like that was like the people that still survived the Holocaust. So like my grandmother who carries these stories. And so let's see. Oh, that's not right yet. You guys are just seeing my whole website already. So I created I created these images, and it started with this photo of my grandmother and I, and it went as kind of like a photojournalistic story to other people's houses, other Holocaust survivors. And it started as me photographing people with their grandchildren, just because that's the relationship I had with my grandma. But it kind of changed to whoever, like, whatever the beauty beyond that trauma is. So it could just be a beautiful house or just like a smiling person, just showing that like you can create life beyond such a traumatic event. So that was some of this work. And I really just appreciate capturing, like photographing intimacy, creating like a bond with the people I photograph, or showing like a bond on camera. So yeah, do you guys have any questions about this body of work?
I really like that phrase, beauty beyond the trauma. That is, oof.
Yeah. It was really, yeah, and this was like a really serious project, and it was honestly really like exhausting to make. And I was visiting a lot of like older people, and the project was about how they've created beauty. It's also about how these people aren't going to be there to tell their stories, and I wanted to be able to just at least like have a physical documentation of them. But it was like just heavy for me personally. um
These
yeah,
these seem. I mean, I have a million questions already, but these seem
yeah.
so intimate, and you're so involved in these people's you know moments. Was it difficult to enter as a stranger into this space?
Yeah, it definitely was. Um, I feel a lot like I felt a lot like I was intruding, but everybody was pretty welcoming, some more than others. Like this woman had like a group of people watching me just to make sure I wasn't like sketchy or anything, which is valid. Like I appreciate that. Um, but like this family, they were like, yeah, just come on in and I'll show you literally everything I have. I have another picture of him, and he was really proud. I think that he potentially was the director of the Richmond Holocaust Museum for a second. So he was really proud of everything he had collected, as you can see in this image. Yeah, so some people were more open to sharing than others, and I was definitely nervous like every time, but they were all really nice. So yeah, cool. And then basically I finished school, and the pandemic hit like a year later, and I just didn't really have a chance to jump back into this project, and it like wasn't really safe. So I think I put it to a close. And then I started trying to figure out how I can kind of take this intimacy that I really enjoy to capture in photographs and like translate it to client work, and translate it more towards kind of more light personal work, honestly. And so that's kind of what I'm doing now. Yeah, basically. And yeah, I don't know. My website will load eventually. The images are so big that it loads so slow. um, but yeah, so I'm basically kind of taking that approach of like kind of photojournalism, but trying to apply it to client work, commercial work, whatever I can. And I feel like overarching, I really enjoy like uplifting like traditionally unheard voices. A lot of women, a lot of like non-cis men, people with like lived experiences of misogyny. And I like to work with them like as clients and like people that I just like connect to basically. And so that's kind of how I continue being able to create art through my work. And yeah, that's about it. I'm not gonna lie. If you, yeah, I'll scroll through some of these. If you guys have questions about individual pieces of, I can like explain the situation further. And then I also have a project that like a photojournalist assignment that I was thinking I could show you if you're interested. But yeah. So yeah, this is my work. It's just pretty right now.
I think that's super valid that you're like, I want to continue my art, but through, I guess, maybe like a curation of clients.
Yeah.
How do you, so are all the images that we're looking at now, are they sort of based in some sort of commercial foundation? Like someone came to you and said, we have this idea, or we want you to help develop an idea, and then there's money involved. Like, walk us through that process, and maybe specifically like how you find clients that resonate with like that criteria for you. Like, I want to be like intimate, I want to amplify voices that are not typically amplified.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good question. So I do a mixture of finding clients. Sometimes people reach out to me. A lot of the times I'm sending my portfolio to people. And so I try, so sometimes I'm working with friends, people who are musicians, people who are artists that need headshots. Like, I don't know, was Deep Pool in your artist talk for this class? Or yeah, so Deep
Deep
Pool's
Pool is actually presenting tomorrow.
okay, so you'll see them tomorrow, but they're one of my good friends and they needed photos for, you know, promoting their art. So we collaborated on that. Um, Sometimes I have like more serious shoots, like this credit card that like photographing a credit card is like not fun at all, honestly. And it's very like, I don't know. It's like something that's not super of interest to me, but the person really liked my portfolio. He said my portfolio was perfect to show his credit card. So I basically kind of had a mixture of more serious images for him, like zoom, like this image, but like zoomed in without like this little weird string. But then also like integrating finding a way for when people are paying me to also get images that I like. So sometimes sometimes we like collaborate. Sometimes they really like my imagery and I can do exactly what I want for the photo shoot. But like, I don't think that that credit card company is honestly going to use this image, but I did like get images that they like and then pulled back and got an image that I thought would be like really interesting for my personal portfolio. And I feel like I'm more prone to do that. Let's see. Yeah, like so these images were for a peony farm outside of New York. And I don't really think that they wanted like kind of weird photojournalistic images. I think that they wanted like the peony, their marketing is like really, really bright, kind of like cheesy, like stuff like that. But they hired me, so so this is what I did. And I mean, I also kind of do still play into like the images that they need. But yeah. And then let's see. This was for like a woman-owned smoke brand in California. And they really just liked my images a lot and let me be as creative as I wanted. So that was something that I was able to use the same images that they use on their website in my own portfolio. So I kind of here I'm mixing client work with personal work. Like this is a more personal image of my mom. But my goal is to make it pretty like seamless so that I can just send over this portfolio and people hire me for these kind of images. Yeah. So like, I guess the goal is to make it so that I don't have to like sneak in images that I like in trade of an image they like. So yeah. Did that answer? Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. Christina, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a question of like, what sort of editing do you do after you take the photos, if you do any?
Totally. So my process is usually to go through Lightroom for like bulk edits, and then go through if I need to like edit skin or like Photoshop like little things, I go through Photoshop. So that's kind of my process. I have a I just got this recently, but I have a pack of like Lightroom presets that I bought that are really, really, really helpful, honestly. And they're for like weddings, but when you apply them to like not wedding photos, I think that they look really interesting. So um yeah. And then some of these are film also. So some of my more personal work, I mean, I think the price of film has gone up like crazy in the past couple of like months, but before that happened, I was taking a lot of film portraits. So like these are all in film, where I think I do like a little less editing than my digital, but sometimes I like my digital look to look like film. So yeah. Yeah.
Do you have? I love like the best case, worst case scenario stories. I was curious if you
Mm.
had a sort of a photographic experience that you feel like just went super well and you connected and like you really resonate with the story, and then maybe like the opposite of that where you're just like, oh geez. And I'm not sure of like why you would have those photos on your portfolio, but anyways,
Yeah, let me see.
or at
I
least just
think
the story of it.
yeah, most of the photos in my portfolio were pretty I think that when I have a positive experience, it's easier to take a better photo. um, I'm yeah, let me try to think. I feel like there have been definitely times that I don't fully connect with the client. This is something I'm learning now, is you really have to be open to clients like looking over your shoulder, checking out every single image you take, and not every image I take like looks like the way I've curated my portfolio. Sometimes it's blurry, sometimes it's a photo of like the ground, and I have to be like, don't look at that one yet. Like I promise it's going to be good in the next couple seconds. I've been doing this is not relevant to this portfolio you see, but I've like part of my job I've been doing like fine art documentation, where I take like a perfectly lit photo of somebody else's art. And I worked with this art collector recently who, he's using these images to sell the art. Like, and these are like $40,000, $50,000 like Andy Warhols and like these crazy expensive paintings. So he's like really very particular. But that was a pretty hard situation to navigate because I was there and he was like over my shoulder, really, really like detailed in a different way than I am. Like he was focusing on different things than I look at when I look at an image. It ended up going well, and he continues to hire me, which is good, but can be kind of intense sometimes. Yeah. And then maybe I guess I'll show you I have this project that I did recently. This was kind of like the first time I got into more storytelling through personal work since the Holocaust survivor project that I did. Are you guys interested in seeing it?
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. And then just to prime, I'm also
Yeah,
curious about your work at PS1.
totally. Yeah, maybe I can start like talk about that a little bit also before I get into the other project.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, right now I'm doing like event gallery documentation for them. But they're another client that I find a way to kind of create images that I like out of like this assignments that they give me basically. And so do you guys know what MoMA PS1 is? Kind of. Okay,
Maybe
that's
just give
cool.
us give us a quick
Yeah,
rundown. Yeah.
totally. So it's like this experimental like offshoot of the Museum of Modern Art in New York. And I was lucky enough to get like a marketing internship with them, and then they found out that I was a photographer and now hire me for for photographing their galleries and photographing their events and stuff. But since they're an experimental arts institution, I have some more creative freedom with like the events and the way I document what goes on there. So I can show you some of the images that I get to create with them. They do a lot of like music performances. It's a group of like young people, and they work to like uplift underrepresented voices in the arts. So it's pretty fun. And then they also partner with different brands, which is cool for helping me build my portfolio. So they've partnered with like Recess. So that's where I took these images. And they've also partnered with Perrier, which is fun. But those are some of the photos that I've taken at like their institution. And then same with these. So.
Yeah, I feel like your commercial work, especially like this stuff we're seeing here, like it feels like it just like resonates so smoothly or seamlessly with your personal work, or at least your perspective on that. Like it's really cool that you can make work this way as a commercial whatever venture.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it definitely takes a lot of, I mean, it's not like a lot of work on my end just because my eye, like, this is just like the way I see sometimes, but it's just kind of, it doesn't always come like perfectly naturally. It's like, when I'm shooting an event, I have to be like, okay, now look for the stuff that you think is interesting. Cause like, I'm kind of doing two jobs. One is like, I need to send like wide angle photos of like the whole thing, so the marketing team has a vibe of the event, and then the other is like I'm going to zoom in really close, and this gives like no information on what the event was, but I think it's a beautiful image. So it's kind of like doing two jobs at once. Yeah. But it's really fun. Yeah, so yeah.
Is there, this is
Cool.
kind of like a businessy question before you move on from this. Is there ever a time, like these are amazing and they look like you just like are finding these really intimate moments of these like people, but is there ever a time with your corporate work or client work where they're like, no, you can't, like, you don't get a chance, you can't use anything from this shoot for like your personal thing, like, or does anyone ever get upset like that's not what I wanted, or you just don't show them these images?
So PS1, I definitely send them these images. I showed like the credit card company, I like added that one as like a fun image. And I was like, I'm probably going to use this for my portfolio. I try to work out the ability to use my own image. Like it just kind of like the contract kind of depends. But I always try to have like autonomy over my images, or at least the ability to show them in my portfolio. But sometimes the images like I take for events is like none of them are cute, like they're all ugly. Kind of, and like they're it's like what somebody wants as an event documentation, but sometimes there's nothing I can use for my personal work, and that's okay, sometimes that just happens. Yeah, but if you guys have any, like if anybody's trying to like become a professional photographer and you have any questions about the industry, you can ask me here. You're always welcome to like reach out, because that was something that I don't think I had a lot of answers to. So yeah.
Yeah, I bet your contract is like forever refining and getting like more and more structured.
Yeah, it's like figuring out contracting is very confusing, honestly. But yeah. Cool. So any other questions for you guys?
I had one about like there was an image of like I think a lily flower. Yeah, that one. How did you create these ones in particular?
Yeah, so let me think. This was not for anybody. This was an image that I had bought these earrings. I think I'm wearing them now, but I really liked them. And I was like, I needed to expand on my product photography. So I rented a studio, and I think that I have a video of the setup if you want to see that video like later, but I think I had a light, like blasting light onto the images and a blue backdrop. And then if you put your aperture like to like f22, then sometimes for my camera, it creates this like crazy sparkle effect that is like my favorite thing in the entire world. So I had a second to to like figure out how to get that sparkle. And I just moved the light around and was able to like get this image basically. And then for this one, half this gradient was in the original image, and then I photoshopped the other side's gradient in. So the light was coming from here, and didn't have like, there wasn't like there's a specific photo thing that you can make have like a circle light on things, but it didn't have that. So I kind of wanted to like add that effect in Photoshop.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, totally.
I guess before you move on, just I'm so excited about the PS1 stuff. I think mostly
Yeah.
because like it just looks like your personal work.
That's so exciting because I do try, like I want it. It's like hard to make it look the same.
It's so gorgeous. It looks like you've known this person for like 20 years and like you're just photographing them as a couple or something.
Thank you.
But talk to me or us about
Yeah.
that, because I had no idea. I was excited to hear how you got involved over there. So that was a marketing internship?
Yeah. While I was in college, I was doing I was an administrative assistant, and I was also doing some marketing for a photographer. And so I think I was just very lucky, and they just like plucked my application up, and they needed somebody really last minute. And like was planning to move to New York, but without a job. And then I immediately like for some reason like got that internship. So I was very lucky. And they ended up liking me and continuing to hire me, which I'm like forever. I tell them all the time I'm really grateful. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, really incredible. Was that, if you don't mind me asking, was that initial internship, was that paid or unpaid?
Yeah, so it was a paid internship. It wasn't that much. I don't remember, maybe it was like 1,500 for the month, and then like, or maybe a little less, or 1,300. But it was like for an internship, it was like perfect. It was like just what I needed. And yeah, so they have that. I think that program will probably open again too. So yeah.
So send in our applications.
Yeah, and let me know
Yeah.
also.
Yeah, talk to us about that other project, unless anyone else has any questions about this stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I also did this project. So this is just straight out of my Lightroom. Can you see it? No.
No, we're
Okay.
still on your website, yeah.
All right, amazing. Let me figure out how to new share. Oh, perfect. I feel like I'm not usually the one giving like presentations on Zoom. I'm usually watching them. Can you see this now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Is that a full screen?
Yep.
Okay. So I did this project recently. I don't know if you guys are on TikTok, but I found this really cool glass recycling facility on TikTok. And it's run by really young people, like 22, 23, maybe 24 years old. And they are working to recycle glass back into sand. So glass is made from sand, and then they recycle it back into sand. But I thought it was really cool because they are using that sand to restore the Louisiana coast that gets really destroyed by hurricanes and also like global warming. And so I just thought that was really interesting. And so I pitched this idea to a friend who's also a photo editor. And yeah, and I just thought this is really new, but I thought it could be fun to share. Yeah, okay, I'm still struggling with the full screen. Okay. So yeah, I went to their, like I took a road trip and photographed their glass recycling facility. And I kind of wanted to show their process of kind of breaking down the glass into sand. And then later on, you'll see some of the more community engagement related images where they really involve the community in like the glass recycling process. And you can see this sparkle. It's literally my favorite part of photography.
Hey, real quick, like I think Lightroom is glitching. Like
Oh,
your image is full screen, but then we also have like the Lightroom thing like sort of covering up most of it. So maybe
oh,
this view is
really?
fine.
Is
This
this view
view,
better?
maybe
Okay.
because at least we see the whole image.
Okay. Cool. Should I start over?
No, no, I think it's fine from here.
Okay. Cool. Um, yeah. So this was just like a recent thing. And I was trying to again like figure out my style through photojournalism and figuring out how to sometimes I think photojournalist images can, look similar or kind of just be a little bit more invasive. So I was just trying to figure out how to bring my personal style into that work too, while also telling like a really well-rounded story, which was something that, I've done through the Holocaust Survivor Project. But when I photograph events, I'm popping in and popping out so I can photograph one person and then leave. But this is something that I had to like, again, involve myself into this process. So yeah. And so like these are the ones that I feel like probably match some of my more personal work the best, but they were all really fun.
I love that we can see your metadata and like a couple images ago it was F22, like the
Yeah,
sparkly bottles.
it's
It's so
always
good.
F22. It's literally my favorite setting. I don't know why, but so yeah, and then these were images of community members taking that sand that you had just seen being created and putting it onto the coastline to separate like fresh water from salt water. Um, yeah, so that's it.
So for this project, you were just like, "Hey, I'm interested in what you're all doing. Can I come take photos?" Is that basically?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. This was like at the beginning of June, and I had been kind of planning it. I was in touch with an editor at National Geographic, so I had that like leg up where I was like, I might be photographing for this publication. So that was helpful, but also they were pretty open, like they're really open to um, like press. They have a whole like press section on their website. And I think that even if I was just a freelancer, um, the woman you see in these is running like everything basically. So I think she would have responded. But yeah, I just kind of like shot my shot and they responded. Then I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna take this road trip to Louisiana. So
And this then so far like no money for this, right? This is just passion project kind of.
yeah, this was a passion project. I'm hoping that they will be published, but nothing is confirmed yet. So, um, yeah.
There it is, F22. Well, that's awesome, Marissa. I never knew. I'm taking notes over here.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like COVID made me really restless and I was just like, I'm just gonna do whatever I can to, live the life I want to live. So yeah. Cool. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for letting me ramble about these very feelingly unrelated projects, but yeah.
I had a like if someone else has questions, please jump in. I don't want to keep you too much longer, Marissa. But I have a million questions always. So Christina,
Please ask
Natasha, or
them.
Richard, stop me. Can you go back to your website and like the first images that hit us on your website? I freaking love those images.
Thank you. Um, yeah.
Oh, sorry,
So,
we're still in Lightroom.
oh,
Sorry.
right. Let me see. Okay. How are we now?
Yes, these. What the
Okay.
heck is going on?
Yeah. So these were really fun. This was a time that I was kind of getting a little too like So I feel like in school, like I was making artwork, but then also I was like always taught like you have to be paid for your images, like no matter what. And so this was a time where I was kind of trying to a little bit unlearn that and like learn that I can relearn that I can just make images because I think that they're cool and fun. So I found these students who needed a photographer, they're stylists at FIT, and they needed a photographer for their like end of the year capsule project. And I thought I liked the way that they styled clothing, and I thought it could be helpful for me to like build a little bit more of my like fashion portfolio type deal. And so we met for coffee and we talked about their theme, which was like themes of like alienation during COVID, and then also kind of like a feeling of isolation through like American culture. I wasn't like super involved in the conceptual side, but I think that's why they have this like funny photo like shirt of Ariel, like the Little Mermaid, and like bringing in those concepts of American culture. But yeah, we went to the beach and we photographed these like really weird, fun images. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And this was just for fun. Like you didn't
Yeah.
ask them to pay you.
No. But it has helped me get some more like lightly editorial work. So sometimes things are like a balance that I'm still kind of learning. But yeah.
I like that these you did for free, but having them up there, they've returned. Yeah, that's cool. Not that it's all about money,
Yeah.
but like, are you a self-sustaining like photo? Is it for you?
So now I was self-sustaining for a second, not like high level self-sustaining, but like enough for, I mean, I'm living in an apartment in Brooklyn, so like enough for that. But now I'm also doing some administrative work with PS1 that's like like a summer job, like an adult summer job. So yeah, it's like working at an ice cream shop, but like I'm in an office. But yeah, so I've been kind of doing that plus photo gigs, which feels more self-sustaining than fully doing photography. But I think that like learning how to take like perfect documentation of artwork and doing event photography and stuff like that is the stuff that sustains me the most, photo wise. But yeah.
I'm gonna, Natasha or Christina, you better stop me. I'm gonna keep going. um, I want to know how you say no to clients, or have you had to say no? Like, I'm not huge on your mission. Maybe ask Jeff
Yeah.
Bezos to take pictures for you.
Yeah. Um, that's like the credit card company. Um, I have not fully had to say no, like to clients. Usually, if I do, it's like I'll pass them along. I have like this um group of friends who are also photographers. So usually I'll check in, and if I say no, I'll be like, I'm sorry, I'm busy, but I can send you this list of names. Or um yeah. So far nobody's reached out that our work like completely doesn't align. And if it does, or if that happens, I think I would just probably let them know that I think like another photographer would be a better fit. Actually, there was somebody that would, well, yeah, there was somebody that recently reached out to me and was really trying to get me to work on like a really tiny budget on a project that I like wasn't excited about at all. So I was just like, it's not, I don't think our visions align, but all the best. And yeah. So
Thank you. Bye.
yeah, exactly. So just finding ways to like word things that feel like productive. And I usually like to offer more help than I probably need to, like passing them along to another photographer or giving them a list of recs. So
Yeah, I think that's super generous. Some of your images, like this one here of the person laying backwards on the rock, they have like
mhm.
really wonderful kind of like soft glow about them. I've noticed a few other ones, and I was going to ask you like technically how you achieve that. Is this just F-22? That seems to kind of like contradict itself.
Yeah, no, this one wasn't F20. This was, I think, before I realized that F22 can create those sparkles. This was, let me think. I think it was probably like F4 or something. And then the rest is basically Photoshop.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. If you like, there's a specific way to like you duplicate your image and then make one layer blurry, like make the blur effect and then like screen the images on top of each other or change the settings or the opacity. It creates like a really interesting blur. Um, yeah. And so also like before, like in college, I was only doing like film photography and I wasn't really like into editing my images or anything, but I found that it can be like a really like lovely tool that helps a lot. So yeah. And these sparkles are from Photoshop too.
The curtain has been pulled back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll pull back any curtain.
Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, I'm like talking a ton. Like the three of y'all, do you have any specific questions while we've got Marissa on the line with us? I feel like there's so much pressure. Like I want to know the backstory to like all these images.
Um,
Oh,
I don't have a question. I actually have to go to work, but I wanted to say thank you so much for sharing everything and talking with us.
Oh,
These
yeah,
are so beautiful
absolutely.
to look at.
Thank you.
bye,
Bye.
Christina.
Thanks for doing
Hi.
this.
Again, I didn't really have a question either. You guys hear me? Oh,
Yeah, we can hear you.
okay. I didn't have a question either, but I did want to say that um the what you let off with the Holocaust pictures reminded me of something that I believe someone around here tried to do too, which was sit down with elders of Native Americans who survived residential schools and went through like the same issues, and I think they made a documentary. But it would be if my grandparents were still alive, it was something I think I would want to try and do. I just don't know how to reach out. How did you reach out to people to be like, hey, can I take photos and hear your story?
Yeah, totally. So I think that I found for me, it was like the director of like the Holocaust Museum in Virginia. It was like a really small community of Holocaust survivors.
Mm,
And they had the contact of a lot of other people in the area. Um, so I believe I did like some cold email, some cold calling, and some like got recommended from like other people. So like one person would meet me and then like realize like I'm like a normal person, and then they'd like be like, okay, this person you can like invite them to your house and stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely a kind of a like a lump to get over for like cold calling and stuff
Mm,
like that. But I would definitely, if you're able to, I would recommend it. People are a lot more willing to like give information than you think sometimes. And I feel like especially elders who I don't know, sometimes I feel like people have a wall up, but I think
yeah.
elders who have like gone through these things like do want to talk about them. Um, and they also realize the importance of telling their story to a younger generation. So I would just try to go for it for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just based off of your composition images, Richard, like you're an awesome photographer. So that would be really fun to see you dive into telling that story.
Mm. I was gonna say at the beginning when I introduced myself, like, hey, I'm Richard. My connection to photography is I got a little interested in photography because I wanted it. Sometimes stream online, just like Twitch, YouTube, stuff like that. And I was like, well, a good camera, I want to know how to use it. So I got the camera, took pictures on my own, but I wasn't really like, didn't know how to set up any shots. So that's why I got into the class because like I really want to know how to use this not a super expensive but not cheap camera that I bought myself and take pictures. I really do enjoy taking the pictures and learning how to use it and seeing those your Holocaust survivor pictures really kind of like resonated with me because there's a lot of parallels with the Holocaust and residential schools.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely recommend if you feel able to just take the photos that like inspire you or that you
Yeah.
wish you could see. So
Yeah, that would be so cool. Just like last questions. Anyone last questions for Marissa or Marissa? Any last tidbits or words of encouragement before we
I
let you
don't
go?
know. Y'all are gonna do great. That's my words of encouragement. That's what I tell everybody. You're doing great. Yeah, and if you guys have any extra questions, Dana, you're welcome to give them my email too.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, maybe we can browse your website on our own time and be like, oh, wait a minute, I want to know the backstory to this image.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, that's
Cool.
fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been like really cool to get to know your work even closer, and get to know you. What is your next? Do you have like a photo gig tomorrow or next week or?
No, I think I'm resting over the next like 3 days. And then I have like some like event photography. I recently photographed an event that like Solange was at, like Beyonce's sister, which was pretty crazy. We like made eye contact, but I for some reason like couldn't bring myself to photograph her. But anyway, yeah, things take rest. So I have some of those
Yeah.
events coming up. Yeah.
I guess it's good for us to also hear you say that. Like, I need to take a rest.
Yeah, I just like planned my schedule and I literally wrote down like rest days. So, I mean, photography can be really draining, especially if you're doing, I mean, now it's just because I'm running around with event photography or stuff like that, but especially if you're doing really intense projects, it can be draining. So, yeah, rest.
Cool. Well, thank you, Natasha, Richard, for joining us. Thank you, Marissa. That was incredible. And when I get the video online, I'll send you a link.
Cool. Thank you guys. Thanks. It was nice meeting everybody.
Cool. Take
Thank
care. It was
you.
nice to see you, Richard and
Bye.
Natasha. It's always awesome. Bye, Marissa. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.